Hey everybody, welcome back to the Quest for the Bestest. It's the podcast for Backlot Banter where we review every single Palme d'Or winner from the Cannes Film Festival in random order. Today, the wheel gave us a very wheel-themed movie that would be The Wages of Fear. Driving, steering, explosions. I had a fun time watching this film. I am very excited to hear what you guys think. I brought my roommate Joe, a fellow filmmaker director, to give his thoughts on the film because, boy oh boy, he's got a lot. And yeah, so let's not wait too long to get right into it. Last time we talked about one of our favorite subjects in the Palme d'Or winners, which would be Nazi occupation of European countries. This time Czechoslovakia, Men Without Wings, 1946. And well, we gave it a 5.3, which puts it at spot number 43 on the list. Out of 52 movies, today will be the 52nd film. So, yeah, without further ado, Abram, I believe you've done a little research. You've scoured the oil fields for any comments. Were the wells dry or were they bursting?
Oh, they were very, very dry.
Ooh,
However, we can always
they were really
count.
unbursting.
We can always count on good old Larry Jacob for commenting once and once only 1 month ago on a review of 1971's The Go-Between.
Oh.
And Larry said the following.
Okay, here we go.
It's a slice of life movie, and you guys just want a good car chase.
This
We
guy.
all experience events that leave a mark on us. This visit would shadow Leo for his entire life. You just don't get it because you are Americans and just need to go watch the Super Bowl. This is a very incisive comment here from Larry.
He sure
So,
knows
Larry,
me
I
very
hate to
well.
break it. I hate to break it to you, Larry. The Super Bowl is months away still, especially when you made that comment. So, try to update your American knowledge a little bit. I mean, you're just saying that because you're not American.
The only reason we do
Presumably.
the show is to pass the time until the Super Bowl.
I,
That's
proud
true.
American, have a new football team because Fantasyland. So let's go Ravens. Let's go Lamar Jackson.
Here we go, Ravens.
Yeah.
Baltimore, my city.
Ravens making Black Ops 7.
True. Let's talk about the film Wages of Fear. Henri Georges Clouzot, Georges Arnaud, another actor we've seen before, right? It's a familiar name.
That's true.
Oh no, he's a writer. He's a writer. I misread.
Yeah.
Tanner, would you
Yeah.
get us started by telling us what the plot of Wages of Fear is?
Absolutely, Timo. Thank you so much for asking.
Oh, that's so nice
so-
of you.
Yeah. So, Wages of Fear takes place in I don't think they name the country that it takes place in. It is some Central or South American country, an oil-producing nation, and that is, of course, core to the story because it takes place in a sort of company town of sorts where there are not many jobs to go around except for working for the Southern Oil Company, an American-owned oil company who is extracting the labor and resources of this community. Some things go wrong for the Southern Oil Company. They have a little bit of a oil derrick explosion. So, in effort to
Small one.
harvest some of that labor that I mentioned earlier, they recruit 4 gentlemen from this town who have sort of ended up here. It's sort of a backwater town that you can't really work your way out of. Our primary characters are, of course, Mario, Joe, Bimba, and Luigi. And these 4 men are tasked with driving 2 trucks filled to the brim with highly explosive nitroglycerin 300 miles through the desert, through the jungle to the
It's
oil
kind of
derricks.
both. There's definitely some desert in there.
There's some desert, sure, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Through treacherous territory, let's say. The slightest bump or rattle will prove the end of them in an instant. And so it's a real high-tension situation that these gentlemen have found themselves in.
Oh,
It would certainly spell their doom.
yes,
Yes, it would.
Yes, it would. Well, Joe, you get to lead it off. What were your thoughts on this film? We had seen this before,
Yes.
so come into it to a second time, which I believe some of y'all have not actually seen it before. So we get some first impressions, but
Well, this is more like my 5th impression of this movie. I have seen it many times, and every time it gets better in a way. I think there's nothing like seeing it for the first time when you don't really know what's going to happen, but the little details, the way that things are foreshadowed, you really start to appreciate the first hour, which to me, the first time I watched it, dragged. But then when I've seen it since, and you know what's coming, you know you're going to be on the edge of your seat for most of the movie. It really helps sell the idea of how desperate these guys are. And I was really noticing this time the different languages being thrown around. It's like every other line is in a different language. And, you know, with subtitles, you kind of lose that, but you can hear it if you're listening. And just the really strong character work, and it's a special movie. I think that's how I feel at this point.
Yeah, okay. I want to hear from Abram, because you said it was your first time, and I'll just say that I wish I could watch this movie for the first time again. So what did you think?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I think that there are extended sequences in this film that feel as though they were put together yesterday, and I think they'll feel that way in another 50 years' time. I'm thinking about the scenes in the oil vat, or our incredibly intricate operation to blow up the rock blocking our path. I think that these are just truly outstandingly crafted sequences, and I think that the craft of this film is impeccable. Joe, I think your point about the first hour is interesting, because I both do and don't think that it dragged. I find myself sitting there on my couch and being like, yeah, let's get to those trucks. But I also I can appreciate the way.
He says that for every movie, by the way.
Yeah, he does.
Where's the trucks?
What the hell?
It's always the best part. Any movie, it's always the best part. But I find the ways in which it feels like the film is very deliberately trapping us there, as you're saying, to be very effective for making the both extreme tension and catharsis of the what is it, hour and 15, hour and 20 of the film that follows it to be very effective. So I liked it a lot. I don't think to me it's not quite at the top tier of this list for me. I don't think. I think just to be totally honest, I think William Friedkin's interpretation of it would probably be that for me.
Sure.
Just because I like his directorial hand a lot. But yeah, I'm really glad we checked this one out for the show.
Tucker, what did you think? And how many times have you seen it?
This will be my second time. It's interesting that since I watched it a number of years ago, I've really internalized this as like one of the, and I think this is how a lot of film people view it, so I'm not saying this is unique, but like internalized it as like one of the like road tension movies. So, and like so many things feel like they've taken inspiration from it, that watching it again, like I thought I had forgotten it all, and then I was like, oh no, it's that sequence. Oh, of course. And like I was just watching this, and I think watching the second time around, because I felt like, oh, all right, it's that sequence, I know what's going to happen. I was much more able to appreciate the like small moments of tension, because I knew who was going to live and die, and largely in what sequences or at what point in the movie. And so viewing it through the lens of, I know they're not going to die, but they feel like they're going to die in many of the sequences, especially Joe, the character, always feeling like he's on the edge of his life. The small moments of a sweat dripping down a brow, or literally biting nails. Like, this is one of the most literally nail biting sequence movie I've ever seen. Those little moments are really what caught my attention. I like the staging of this like 4 or 5 sequence, 90-minute last chunk of the movie, where you're back to back to back the most insane, dangerous set pieces you've seen. But it was more the small moments of the guys looking around and being afraid that really sold these to me, and in the close-up shots and things like that. So yeah, I really do like this movie. There are a lot of these movies that I like so much, I'll say, oh, there's nothing like it. I don't think that's true with this movie, because I think it's inspired so many things, and so many sequences in this movie have then gone on to inspire sequences in other movies, even if they aren't necessarily exactly like this movie. But it really holds up well. All the performances are excellent. I think that the crisp cinematography like really holds up well in black and white. I was just impressed by it. I think that there's a lot of interesting stuff set up in that first hour of the movie. How much of it I think really plays into my enjoyment of this movie, I think, is pretty low. But it's good background information for these characters, because once the movie gets going into, frankly, what people think of it as and what the identity of the film is, the room for character moments and world building is very, very minimal because
Yeah.
they are just locked in ostensibly. So it's an interestingly balanced movie in that it's very much two movies kind of stapled together with some interesting through lines. But I like it a lot. I think it's very, very cool and stands or holds up very, very well.
Tanner, you go, and then I'll round us out.
Sure. Yeah, I'll just go quickly because I think this is a masterful film in all of its executions. The first segment I think is obviously essential to establishing who these characters are and what the stakes of why the hell they would do something like this are. And also setting up a lot of the thematic material that I'd like to dig into because this is my second time viewing the film as well. And as we are wont to do on Quest, I was keeping an eye and an ear to the ground for the thematic material. And I think that is a pretty rich thematic text in a lot of ways. So I'm excited to talk about that. But yeah, obviously it's like a fucking rip-roaring hell of a time whenever they encounter like an obstacle or a thing they have to get around, whether they're going 40 miles an hour or 4 miles an hour. Love this one a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I echo pretty much what all you guys have to say. This time around, I think like our character transformations was something I was picking out. Like Joe as this character who loses his nerve and is told that he doesn't have it anymore, and he bucks against that right at the beginning. I think that, yeah, Tanner, you're right. It is very thematically rich. It's very progressive. It's very anti-imperialist. It's very on the side of these very destitute people that are being exploited by the American oil company. And we were talking about how the American censors nabbed like 50 minutes out of the movie.
For what reason do you think?
So I looked into it a little bit. I can tell you basically everything with the SOC was removed. Maybe it's sort of what you'd think. The scene where they bring the bodies back into town and everyone is yelling, that's gone. But there's some more interesting stuff too. There were stuff removed because of homosexuality implications.
Excessive male fraternization.
That was the words they used.
There are, in the European fashion, there is some like some intimate kissing between men as they show friendship, of course.
Clutching people to your breasts and
friendship.
Right.
Yes, friendship.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank
So,
you.
I found this movie like there's
Which,
so much.
by the way, is what fries were called before they became fries. Was French chips.
French.
Oh, interesting.
Nice. So, Tucker, where do you think we should lead this whole thing off? We talked a little bit about that, the censorship and some of the themes, but what do you think is?
Timo?
You got it. Take it away.
You get a finger wag from me because our guest should choose where we start.
Okay. Yes.
What am I choosing?
Our first
Where we
point of
started
discussion?
conversation.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
this
basically.
is something I thought about a lot watching this, that essentially, if you were to, just to start at the beginning of the movie, basically, if you were to watch the first 30 minutes until the scene where the oil fire happens and they bring the bodies, even up until, the moment of the oil fire, you were just to watch that and then someone stopped you and then was like, where is this movie going? You would never predict where it's going to go.
That's very interesting.
And it's such a weird structure to this movie where, like, it's this intimate, very claustrophobic character drama with the women and the shop owner and all these men kind of vying for, like, scraps in this tiny town they're trapped in. And the anti-American stuff is just very background. And then suddenly something goes wrong and we're just, like, totally doing a different thing now. And it's stripped down to barely any characters. But the way that happens makes total sense. It's a brilliant device for getting them all out of this place.
Yeah, I mean, I think like that the desperation from the beginning. I think the reason why I like the languid quality of the start is because we almost have to get desperate ourselves. Like we as viewers need to be bored and like, come on, let's get it go. Like, come on, guys, like find some work. Like let's have something happen in this movie. And so we're already aligned with our main characters there. But there's the scene right after the oil fire where they're crying. It's always the gringos who. It's always us who get killed, and it's the gringos who go home. Yeah. They live in a different camp, and then eventually we're shown the way that like the SOC stuff is sprinkled. well, the Standard Oil Company, of course, was what I think they're trying to talk about. We sprinkle in these hints of Americanness, and it's just really negative, and not in the active way, I think, aside from maybe like the militarized private cops, but like it's just the byproduct of this business being here. And I think one of the characters has a beginning line like, "When there's oil, there's Americans."
Yes. It has held true across the years, of course. But no, the desperation building in the first few in the opening act basically is essential. Like I had mentioned, we're talking about. For a number of reasons, like what Joe had mentioned, and that's Joe, I presume with an E and not Joe, the character in this film. That might get a little bit confusing as we talk about the film, but anyway.
Joe.
Sorry, Joe. Or should we? I guess we could maybe refer to him as
Monsieur
Mr. or
Mr.
Monsieur Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, put some respect on it.
That's what I've been calling that Joe.
Oh, well, I'm talking about to get even more confusing.
Shoot.
But I do want to talk about Monsieur Joe's arrival in the town, because I think that's where I've made my first sort of note in my notebook here about the film. Is this moment where, first of all, he and Mario have this immediate sort of connection. It was like, you're French, I'm French. Finally, somebody to talk to, somebody to relate to in this dead end town. They have that immediate bonding over shared nationality and a little bit of nostalgia for Paris and all these other French experiences they had. But of course, they also have this moment where Joe comes in in a taxi from the airport, and then Mario's like, "Listen, I'll take you to the place, basically the center of town, which is this bar." And we'll try and find some work there. You and me together, buddy. He's like, up. Well, let's not walk over there, even though it's 100 feet away. Let's take the taxi. Costs $1, but they say it looks better. I think is a very key thing that they say. And these guys are poor. They can't afford to get out of this town, but they spend $1 to roll up into this bar in a taxi just to like flaunt a little bit of like importance about themselves. Hey, look at the new guy in town. He's my buddy, and we're gonna take this thing on together now.
But I would also say that Joe as a character has this like charlatan kind of scammer quality right at the start. Yeah. He's misrepresenting himself pretty wholeheartedly as
Also important to note, they don't pay for the taxi. They make the shopkeeper do it.
Yeah.
Oh, he says pay the taxi, and the guy and then walks away.
Yeah.
So the appearance is all of it. It's everything. He totally is this con man who gets stuck in this.
Yeah, and we just we were left to wonder what his life was that got him there. So yeah, it's like immediately I'm struck with Joe as like the most interesting character because I see right through him, and I'm like, okay, he doesn't have money. He's wearing nicer clothes than everybody else. What's this guy's deal? What's his plan? And that's why I then this watch. I was so interested and invested in his kind of descent and the breaking of his spirit. And he's a shambling, crumbled man by the end of the film. And he dies. Nobody makes it out. Spoilers. But like he is the first one to go, and he walks around as a living corpse for a good part of that second half of the movie.
He's the first one to break, but he's not the first one to die, which I think for me makes him the most interesting character in the movie. I think Mario is solid as a decently suave male protagonist, decently confident male protagonist. I want to talk about Mario's character arc in how aggressive he becomes by the end of the movie. I think that's something that I'm a little puzzled by in the movie. But I think Joe feels to me like the heart of the film, because the way that he ends up showing emotion and breaking and essentially coming up with excuses, like a series of excuses, whether they're real or not, hard to tell, but he just continues to like physically and mentally break down to where he believes that he has a fever. I don't know if that's the case, but he's saying that he does, and he's saying it's too hot in here, and saying it's too cold in here, and saying that he's worried about the every bump, and I like the line a lot that to me is one of the moments that sells this as a terrifying journey the most, is when he says, I've seen myself die 50 times in the last night.
Love that line. Love
That
that.
is that's one of the most interesting lines in the movie, because it does then frame the things that to that point in the journey, you know, they'd made it, you know, it had been tense, but it's things that some of the other guys had known, you got to do this. It didn't seem like particularly impossible, and so up to that point in the movie, I think the writing, especially Mario's reaction, had kind of framed Joe's fear or anxiety as maybe a little bit comedic, right? Of like, oh, you know, he's just being ridiculous. He's a little bit overreacting. Like, what do you mean you're like hungry and not hungry and need to smoke and don't need to smoke and need to stop and all this stuff? But then when he's like, I've seen my life flash before my eyes 50 times, you're like, oh no, he wasn't screwing around. Like, this to him is life or death in every pebble on the road. And so watching him devolve over the course of the movie, that's the emotional heart of it, because he's the only one that up to that point reacts in a more believable way given the tension of this scenario, because the other guys are kind of like in it for the adrenaline to a certain extent, and like you know, taking the tension, just kind of like wiping it off a little bit, but Joe is, I think, the most interesting character to me because of his emotional devolving journey, the emotional slippery slope that he goes on.
Abram, what do you think of all this?
I think I have to say, I think I'm not especially moved by any of them, and I think this is sort of part of why I'm not like totally on the same wavelength as the film. I think that what surprised me then, given that, is how moved I felt as Joe is dying in Mario's lap as the film reaches its conclusion. But I think in the run up to there, I'm not so interested in how he ends up sort of falling apart, because I don't know how interested I was in sort of the airs he was putting on to begin with. I kind of feel like there's this relationship with Luigi that reaches a head, obviously, in the confrontation in the bar that largely evaporates on the road, obviously, as they're sort of all aligned on this mission now of getting the nitroglycerin across the oil fields. And so I sort of feel like a lot of the characters to which he's trying to prove himself, like a Luigi, like a lot of the people in the town, largely fade out of the film and out of this situation in the second half. So by the time he sort of drops his facade, as it were, he's just doing it for his fellow Frenchmen here, to which he already has a strong kinship. I think I'm actually most interested in the moment when he tries to recompose himself, and he's hanging on to the truck as we've just exploded the rock, and we have these pebbles just skipping past the jerry cans. And we cut back to him just like with a death grip on the truck, veins popping out of his arms as he.
Joe noted this
that is some incredible whole body acting by that guy.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an invigorating moment, because it's sort of like this. It's this moment where he's confronted with this death at an instant in a very material specific way. He's not imagining himself die 50 times over the course of the previous night when they're sort of trawling along at 4 miles an hour. He is there faced with every pebble could be the one, and yet he hangs on. He's not back up the mountainside. And so I found that moment interesting when we get more into what Joe is trying to maybe prove to himself more than what he's trying to prove or display to these other people, which I think I'm less moved by.
I think you lead into this kind of character note that I found important was with his old friend, Bill O'Brien.
Bill O'Brien, as us Americans would say.
So old Bill tells him, he's like, "No, you're too old. You can't do this. Like, you're gonna lose your nerve." And I think that is the moment where what's his name? Where Joe is like, "Nah, screw you. I can do it." And you know, there's a bit of they kind of are frenemies, I'd say, the Bill O'Brien and Joe, but that to me sets up what you're talking about, Abram, his internal need to prove ability that he's still got it, that he's still this like adventurer, adrenaline junkie, or whatever it is that his past is, because we just never find out. That is like the moment where it all starts off for his character in the like, well, I am gonna do this insane, dangerous thing, and it's like, when he saw himself die 50 times overnight, in any of those times, was he questioning his choice? Was he questioning that resolve that he had earlier in the film? Like, I think it could be.
I think the really interesting thing about him and then Mario too is the reversing instantly of the power dynamic. Joe breaks immediately. Like he doesn't even make it to the washboard before he's already can't function basically at all and becomes dead weight. Whereas before,
because it's there when they switch
Mario
drivers, right?
is yeah,
and that's like who's the powerful one in the vehicle is who's driving.
It's like when the rubber meets the road, so to speak. Who's actually going to be able to? Who's actually in charge?
Yeah,
who can do the job? And that's such a great thing.
I think the key to Joe and Mario, and I guess maybe the skeleton key to the whole movie for me is this intersection. I think Clouseau and Clouseau is tapped into, and it's in the script as well. So I'll credit Raymond Baudery as well for this. Is this intertwining thematic interest in like machismo and masculinity and like being a breadwinner and earning money and having a job and doing honest work. Like that is all stuff that is present in this film. And realistically, like what that looks like.
Luigi is
at the end of the day. Luigi is obviously the key to this. But the actual job of what they are doing is also key to this. I mean, Joe, at the end of the day, is the only one that is acting realistically in this scenario. He is the only one that's like, guys, what we are doing is fucking crazy. We are being confronted with our death at every millisecond. You guys should be freaking out like I am. And I'm like, oh no, buddy, I got this. What? And then they like, like this film could escalate to the point of like who could get there faster ultimately, because it's a pissing contest for these guys. There's a point in the film where they literally, all three of the younger guys, like piss on the place where the giant boulder was. Like ultimately, that is kind of what the film is to me. Is this manipulation of working class, especially working class men, into putting their lives on the line for the larger anonymous moneyed interests that demand this of them and make them vie and compete for the most dangerous and trying jobs in the world.
Well, this is actually, it's a good point, because this is why, to me, Luigi is the character that I find myself most interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Because Luigi has, obviously, in the broad strokes, he has the same motivation as the other guys. They want to get the hell out of here. But there's a complication for Luigi, because he's been instructed by this doctor now that he has 6 months, a year to live.
Yeah.
And so the stakes for him are different, and they're very personal. And I think that there's something...
Specifically, he's got a couple months to live because the very masculine job that he was so proud of doing, he wasn't taking proper precautions.
Rubbed in everyone's faces. The only guy, he says this a number of times, the only honest work that any of the characters are doing. He says that a lot. Yeah. It's honest work, and none of you other guys got a job, but I do. And look what it gets him. It gets him a fucking 6-month sentence for the rest of his life.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting that both... It's not necessarily that what they're doing... The trip in the truck is not dishonest on behalf of the men. It's dishonest on behalf of the oil company.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what's interesting is that obviously the ending condemns this notion that playing in the context of this system is going to be your salvation. But I think that idea feels especially potent by the end after getting this big prize, because we see it in this more intimate way first. Because first we see this less glamorous, just in sort of the seduction of the theatrics of it. That there's very non-sexy job that Luigi has. He's out there. He's moving bricks.
Yes.
He's pouring cement. He's getting bitched at by the boss. He's just one of the guys on the job site, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is going to kill him. So he goes to instead get in the truck that kills him But I think the film is asking us to wonder how big of a difference there is between
Yeah.
that job,
Yeah.
pushing bricks around,
and
or driving that truck.
And it further extends that point because what about the oil field workers and the ones who are killed? And then there's that shot. One of my favorite shots in the film is we're inside like a tent. It's not a medical tent. The guy who just got exploded is completely 100% bandaged up. He's got like one eye open, and then in the background is the flaming plume of smoke.
Yes.
Which, because the greatest thing about explosions in this movie, done for real. Giant plumes of flame and smoke, done for real. Trucks doing dangerous shit, done for real. Like, there's no other, like, I'd highly doubt they did very much miniature or any, like, production. No. But back to the point, like, so the nitro driving is terribly dangerous, but, like, is the oil field work any less dangerous? The film, I think, takes time and makes a specific point to show us that no, it isn't. No. And that the attitude of the bosses is the same. The boss gives you your regards, and then he hangs up, and the dude is like laying there completely incapacitated, and you can see in his face, like, what good does that do me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
for sure. I'm trying to get. Should we get rolling into like the actual truck stuff, or is there anything else in the opening section that you guys feel is key to what happened? Oh, Tucker's got something. Here we go.
Yeah.
I think the most important part of the world building of this movie is the fact that this system of labor and economy in this town is so broken that it is very easy, and also seems to be kind of aspirational to move to this place, to get yourself to this place where hard work is done. And then when you're there, prices, jobs, the system is so broken that it's ostensibly impossible to leave. And that is, like, learning that note makes all of this early stuff worth it, because it contextualizes all of the non-work that is being done in this early chunk of the movie in a much more sinister light about poverty rather than laziness.
Yes.
Because all these guys, it's presented in like the opening 15 minutes of the movie that they're kind of just lazing about and asking for drinks and like kind of bugging
damn
people.
Hot out. Yeah.
Yeah. And you, I think, wonder a little bit if this is just a group of people that are here to take advantage of the local labor and just kind of get cheap shit and hang out. But then the fact that even with these guys that aren't the locals, these are the gringo that they're talking about, they are trapped here too, and they can't get jobs, and they don't have the money to buy a drink, and their tab is 20 million long. That context of everyone ostensibly is in the same position here. This place is so screwed up to a ridiculous degree that this is actually a preferable way out to some degree of they have been left no option. The line of guys is X amount long, and they are the lucky few that have been given this opportunity to take this dangerous job. And it's rather than being just stuck there sitting on your ass with nothing to do in a crappy house in the hottest place imaginable and no drinks, at least this is an opportunity. At least there's potential.
It makes me think about the first shot of the whole film is this we start down low on the ground, and it's of this kid who doesn't have any pants on. No shoes and no pants and just a shirt. And I mean, Clouseau knows completely what he's doing by showing us this image, and it's entirely supposed to display the poverty of the town and display that it's just the people who have probably been living here a long time are just completely destitute, and that I don't think you can display poverty in a more striking way than the child who doesn't have clothes.
Right.
Go
ahead, Abram.
I mean, there's another dynamic to the culture of the town that I'm really interested in, and this is in the character of Linda.
Yes.
Abram, I was going to bring up this exact same point, so thank you.
Well, because I'm just really, I don't really. It's more largely an open question because I'm not really sure what I make of Linda's situation in the narrative. But I think a moment that did interest me is she's reading Hollywood magazine or something. And she's making this dress in the image of this beautiful dress from that's exotic to where they are. And so there is this there's this desire for something that isn't here, and yet I wonder if that's to please. I wonder if that's to please Mario, because we know Mario is a womanizer. We know he's got all of these pinup models on his wall.
Hmm.
He makes these racist remarks about I believe he says savage to describe the women there.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
it's very he's obviously not only snobbish in his preference for Paris, but he's openly he's openly bigoted and looks down upon, discriminates against
Hmm.
specifically the local women. And then we have Linda, who dotes on him for attention that he doesn't receive, and tries to remake herself in the image of this type of woman that he's interested in.
Right.
I always wonder
Now-
about. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No,
I always wonder.
that's really just what my question was.
I always
What do we
wonder
make of
about
him?
this portrayal. Important to note that that's Clouseau's wife, right?
Mhm,
Yes.
Yeah, Vera
Yes.
Clouseau.
That it for me, when I see it now, I think that it comes back in the second half of the film in Mario's use of cruelty to get what he wants. And I think that Mario is sort of downstream from the SOC, from the bartender in terms of on the receiving end, and from Joe, sort of receiving this cruelty, and then he passes that on to Linda. And he's not a good, yes, he's super racist, he's a womanizer, but I do see this hierarchy of cruelty that exists in this place. Then when they get on the road is mirrored with him and Joe, where it's actually functionally the same as his dynamic with Linda. And I always thought I think that's very interesting, because you do sort of once the second half of the film, he doesn't really have anything to say about her, about any racist
Yeah.
comments.
He doesn't give a shit about
No.
her. Period. Yeah.
No, definitely.
It's a good point, though, Joe, because there's this moment, there's this recurring moment that I like when Linda is running alongside the truck.
Yeah.
That's the same position Joe is in.
Hmm.
He also finds himself running along the truck. And so I think you're doubtlessly right, particularly, again, to the point that we began a discussion on, this sort of the sort of sense of intimacy that got the film censored to begin with. There is this sort of
Joe
dominance.
competes almost literally with Linda at the start of the film. I mean, there's the moment
Yes,
where
Mario's
gonna go on a date
much
and,
more. I don't know if it's as much Joe competing, because that's still the point where he is Mario's no, I want to hang out with my new friend, basically, in a very boyish manner. He's I don't want to hang out with girls. I want to hang out with my new guy friend. Where
But
Joe's
Joe's
not
clearly
necessarily
jealous
competing, but I guess there's a note of jealousy. You're right,
And,
but
the way that
Mario
Joe is
very
all-
clearly I don't, Linda, I don't need you, and then he even goes as far as to hit her in that sequence as well, before going and talking to Joe.
Yeah, and then when she's running alongside the truck, he I forget if he physically, but verbally for sure, he's get out of here, don't which he just leaves her behind. And well, I don't know. So then, what do you guys think of to the end of this character arc with Mario and Linda, and Mario is driving home.
Yes.
And he's acting very recklessly. I don't view it as he might not even say hello to Linda when he gets back in town. He's got $4,000. He could fly out of there 20 times over.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that that's even a part of his mind at all. I don't think that he cares that he's going back to where this lover was at the end.
That's interesting.
The money's such a game changer.
But
for
we're
him.
meant to see her. We're shown her
Mhm.
very deliberately, and she passes out when he goes off. I mean, not to go too into the ending, I guess, but
Mhm.
they're clearly
Yeah,
linked.
Yeah.
Well, the ending I think is interesting, because I don't know if I agree that the movie presents it as that he just wouldn't do anything with her at all, because the parallel editing between her dancing and him dancing
Yeah,
in the
he's
truck,
making the truck dance.
I think is enough of a parallel for me to be like, all right, both
That
these
they
characters
do-
are
that they will
as you mentioned,
reunite?
linked somehow, and that they
Mhm.
will then you're thinking, okay, these are gonna connect, and maybe in the Hollywood version of this, where this is Clark Gable, he walks through the tavern
Kicks the
doors,
saloon,
sweeps her
yeah.
off her feet, and then the music swells, and we
Uh-huh.
pull up as they are dancing together.
The end. Yeah.
But then he dies.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
very
great sequence. I mean,
anti-Hollywood.
Yeah.
Clouseau has a lot of fun clearly here, like toying with the audience's expectations and the editing choices that he's doing before he absolutely launches that truck down a cliff for real.
Look,
it
we never see his body.
unrecognizable.
Well, no, I guess we do.
Yeah, but you do
I
see
was
his
gonna
face.
I was gonna say as it was crashing, like we don't see his body. Maybe made it.
What we need is like the beam.ng chance of survivability calculator that's a little bit at the bottom.
Minus
People know what I'm
100%.
talking about.
No, I want to see like a skate, broken bones.
Oh, that's good
tracking.
too. Yeah. Slow-mo X-ray. You're right.
Or like the bones that he's breaking, like showing up in real time on like the HUD.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, he's racking up points for sure.
I've got one more question about Linda.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
Because
Because then
think
I want to
this-
talk
this-
about some trucks, some good boy
Yeah, we'll
shit.
hit the big set pieces in the jungle too. Yeah.
Because there's a moment when Linda is hanging off the truck and she's leaning in the window and she's talking with Mario and she's talking about how she would have done anything for Mario and would have done anything for them to stay together here in this place. And I think part of this this parallel editing we're talking about are these different reasons that the two are excited. Linda is excited because he's coming home. To Timo's point, Mario's excited because he's getting the fuck out of there as soon as he gets back to the airport. And what I'm wondering about is if you guys make anything of a potential read or a potential thread in this film wherein, in some way, Mario should have been happy with Linda. And if there was a fulfillment to be found with Linda in that town. I don't really think that I don't really think that that's ultimately what the film is interested in. Obviously, the film is interested in the way that Mario is being exploited. But I think I just find myself really hung up on this relationship with Linda because I feel like there is a richness here too. The difference in worth and value being constructed between somebody who's interested, like Luigi, in the signs of society that he has because he has a job and he has money, or the signs of society from a character like Linda who finds meaning in this relationship. And I think that is a dichotomy the film is trying to explore. I don't know if it really does, but I'm a little hung up on if there's something to Linda that Mario was supposed to see beyond his abuse of her just being illustrative of the character he would become.
Well, I think what it boils down to is that, like, I mean, he's a fucking shitheel to her. Like, he doesn't give a shit about her, and she's all over him to the degree where, yes, you think about, like, does she really love him? Does she see Mario as some sort of ticket out, path of least resistance to also get out of this town? I think it's notable that, especially Linda, but some other background female characters in the film as well, are working basically every time you see them. For as much hand-wringing as there is about the male characters and the degree to which they have money and are working or whatever, the women in this town are always doing something.
Labor,
the
or
opening
something.
scene is Linda like scrubbing the floors as all the guys like sit out on the porch or whatever.
And even the dress example is like, that's handicraft. That is a skilled labor activity that, in a different
While he's
in
out
a different
socializing,
place,
or just kind of
bumming around,
Yeah. But it's the society does not value women's labor. They value the dangerous men's labor and driving trucks that are gonna blow up or whatever.
I do think it's sort of to your point, like there is this problem that she doesn't really seem to see what the situation that he's in. She is clearly younger. I mean, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a character flaw, but like the whole monologue, which I think is so great, cutting around with him explaining why they can't get out. Linda seems totally oblivious to that reality in any meaningful sense. She wants to get dressed up. She wants to go out. She wants to dance. And she's happy where she is, but it's very clear Mario could never be happy in that place. But not just because he's an outsider, but also because there's no food and no work. I mean, there is this idea that they've actually and I think it's sort of represented with the bartender too, that these two groups of people, the Europeans and then the Americans and then the people who were there, like the native inhabitants, they just fail to understand each other on every level. They are never they're never going to get along in any meaningful sense with the way that things are.
Yeah.
Mm.
I do love every time that the camera hangs on the native people of the town, like the actual inhabitants of the town,
Yeah.
and even like the actual native peoples out at the oil field. I love every time that they're on screen and how the camera hangs on them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, let's do it. Let's talk about driving the truck.
Let's do trucks. So first of all, I have a question for you guys. For you guys. It's very simple. A very simple yes or no. I think I know the answer already. You're in the same situation as these poor guys. Would you do it? Kind of situation.
Now, Tanner,
Sure. Oh,
Yeah.
sure, I would.
I think I would.
Yeah, I think I fancy
can't-
myself able to do it.
let's place a little context because I believe you did the research.
Yeah.
What is the inflation adjusted money that you're
Thank
going to
you
make
for
from this?
asking.
Yes, I
Tucker.
want to know this.
$25,000. $25,000 is what you get in the
That's not a lot.
1953 to 2025.
It
you're
gets
stuck.
you out of a small town.
Yeah, it gets you
It
out.
It gives you a chance.
Gets
It's
you out.
25K in like the most remote, rural, Central South American town. So it goes a long way to get you out of somewhere and maybe help you start a newish life.
It would get you off Eden.
Mm-hmm.
It would.
If you've seen the new Roadhouse. No,
Not
new
yet,
Roadhouse.
Tucker. Not yet. I haven't. No spoilers.
Spoilers.
Uh-huh.
On an island.
But are we getting yeses that you tried it? It's kind of the same
No.
conversation as like,
Yeah.
do you think you could land a commercial airliner or whatever?
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think Timo thinks he could.
Yeah, I think I could do both.
Not to open that discourse, but landing the plane is much easier than this.
You think landing a
Yeah.
plane is easier
Well,
than this?
because you are
Yeah.
receiving assistance. in
Yeah,
that
you got a
scenario.
buddy.
Okay, but in this scenario, we also have Joe there helping and hurting in the same manner.
I would say mostly her. he offers one moment of advice that does end up getting Mario to the finish line,
Mhm.
but mostly he's like, and I think reasonably so.
Yeah.
Like,
I'd be in that car being like, I know, Joe, this fucking sucks. This is the worst, man.
we gotta do it anyway.
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
I also can't drive. So
That's true. Aram is at a
I'm not
disadvantage
I'm not
already.
able to run it.
Yeah.
That would be my one problem, is I don't know how to fix a truck. Everything else.
Oh,
I could
sure.
probably
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
That's true. They're
the
always opening the hood and
mechanic
going bink bonk,
You
bink.
just
bonk.
bang it with a wrench.
That's
You do
right.
it two for a small problem, four for a
You
big
do
problem.
you do a battlefield. You take a blowtorch and you just hold that around the outside, the engine, whatever.
But the editing of this movie does suggest, though, that they're not doing much repair. They're kind of just stopping and letting the heat meter cool down so it doesn't.
Yeah,
like,
that's a lot of that's like the first stop they make is
I
like,
think-
oh, the engine's getting a little hot. Yeah,
I think that's just how the 50s trucks work, you know? You just
You
got
know
the
what?
heat meter and it's
those
gotta
were
cool
you know
down.
those are sturdy World War II trucks, baby. All right, we don't make them
Mhm.
like that anymore.
no, we
Well,
presumably make them a lot better.
This does lead, though, to actually an interesting moment in the film.
Mhm.
It's when everybody is lining up to audition for this role.
Yeah,
And every
Oh, yeah.
single person's
Yes,
occupation
that's
is
good.
truck
That's
driver.
good. That's good.
And it's a good moment that I think underscores our whole conversation to this point about the do whatever it takes to get out of this town mentality. But I think it also positions our characters interestingly to where it's clear that they have a mechanical sensibility about them. But it's not a narrative situation wherein these are the four truck drivers, right? And these are the only four guys who could do it. These are the four guys that got the opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
And so I find myself
The
as I'm
combination
watching
luck and nerve to do it.
Mhm.
Exactly. I find myself watching and wondering, okay, who actually has the skill in this moment? And I think I think what is so good about the tension of how these scenes are crafted is that it's always somebody different who has the answer to the problem.
Mhm.
And I think that makes for this really exciting, tense viewing experience where you not only don't know what the next problem is going to be, you don't know what the next awe-inspiring bit of simple filmmaking craft is going to be, but you also don't know who is going to be the one that gets us unstuck from the situation.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, my kind of overarching point of discussion about this half of the movie, absolute care and craft that is taken to photograph these trucks, and how important, you would spend.
Truck porn.
Yeah, in a way, like the blocking, so to speak, of our trucks is so key and important to have just the function of the script and the plot that, like, we need to see how these things move. We need to see the tire right on the side of the road, like creeping over the edge of that wooden platform, like the ways that it's like, if we were to do this as a play, you would need to spend all that time like figuring out on stage where the trucks move to tell the story. And I think that it makes the sequence work because we just are so clear about what's happening. And
what is an earlier movie with just a crazy machine like that? It's almost like sci-fi. Like the care and the practical nature of this just loud, bright monster of a truck. I can't even think of a precedent for something like that. It's so... It really hooks you in instantly to this next bit. That it says explosives on it.
Yeah.
And it's got
it has the siren and the lights, and then the two trucks are different, and just the stroke of genius to have them staggered and switch. And so then you have this, like, the narrative tension of, we don't know what's coming next. We don't know what's coming next for our lead characters, our main characters who are in the front. And so everything is a new challenge that we haven't seen before. But then we get to flip that, and we get to go into the other cool area of, we know what's coming next, and it's bad. It's very bad.
It's the perspective switch is not good either way. Whichever way, it's the devil you know or the devil you don't kind of situation. And I think it's just also just like so well paced, this back half. I mean, I guess it's probably, it's about a half, I would say, actually. Because you basically have your 4 big set pieces crammed into this thing. You got the washboard, which
gets us going. That's the start.
That's the first thing, which I think is just really creative in, like, all right, whatever you do, like, you can do it fast, you can do it slow, but you can't change speeds while you're on the washboard. It's just so creative. And then you get the culmination, the climax of, like, the guys in front are going slow, but the guys behind them are going fast. That's the option they chose.
I think that's my favorite sequence.
Yeah.
Because
so
when they establish it, it has, unlike the other sequences, which are much more figuring out on the fly, this sequence they've done before, and there's rules to it. And I really like an action sequence that has rules to it. Where there's something ticking down, where you're watching a meter, and it's a great way to visualize the danger, in a way that, because this is it has to be done practically, and it was made a long time ago, we're not getting insane Mad Max Fury Road large scope shots that show how practically dangerous this is. We're getting close-ups of the speedometer. We're getting sweat on the brow.
Yep.
We're getting the guy wipe my brow, so reach over and dry my face because I can't take my hands off the wheel.
He's like a surgeon who can't take his hands off the scalpel at that point.
Yeah, and it also has a great build-up in the way that the other ones don't necessarily have the same. In that we see them like challenge. It's challenging them to decide which path they're going to take. And Joe is specifically really, like, bugged out by this. Of which he's like, no, we have to go slow. We have to go slow. And he, like, the moment where they do switch who's driving, I think is great, because he's like, the truck is the truck's not going right, and he's like, oh, that's odd. I like the build up to it, and then just fly. Because that is where there is the most, like, we're about to crash, ostensibly.
There's also
I think that's the best sequence in the movie. I absolutely love it.
There's also this moment when that happens, when he slams on the brakes and then he goes to check under the hood and he closes it, and Yves Montand gives Joe this look where he knows this guy's going to be a problem. He knows he can't trust him now.
He's like, he
kind of gives him the benefit of the doubt.
This is not the slick, smooth, suave guy that I knew back in the town. This guy's a little bit antsier.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's like the moment that it flips, and he knows this guy's actually going to be a burden on him, not someone who's going to help him. And it's such a great bit of acting from him, and really, without any words.
Yeah. hierarchy that we were talking about, where
the
Mario
driver.
goes from like demeaning Linda to demeaning Joe is clearly established right there.
So then the sequence after that is going around the hairpin corner with the
rotted wood platform.
And this is the one where I like it because we have to do it twice, and we just get to do the inventive and creative ways to twist that knife even farther, and to grab our balls and twist them and keep going and keep twisting and not only do we get the first truck around, it's really difficult, and the wood breaks, and we've established that this platform, the platform can't be trusted. And
it's really difficult. It's nowhere near as difficult as the second time.
Yeah. I'm like, the small truck made it through, but it didn't. The platform is weakened, and now we got to take the big truck through.
That's a genius way to do it.
And it's
exactly.
I just love. We get through the sequence. You've got Joe has scampered off. He's run away. We thought he's gone over the edge, but he hasn't. He's run up the hill, and it's much better that he's run up away from the truck than him like hiding on the truck or already in it. Like it's, I think, a more accurate character notice. It's kind of less kludgy, as our Joe and I's Roger Knoll favorite DP would say, when the action is just funky. But like the hook, I just love that there's this like random little bit on the truck.
In my living room, when that happened, I said out loud, "The hook!"
The hook! And it grabs, and you just go like, oh no.
Yeah.
And I love the ways I love a good specific movie, right? And this, I think, is a great example of when you put specific details in that create specific outcomes. That this platform is held up by some wires. So in the final moment, tug on the wire to make the whole thing come down and force our characters like that is just brilliant staging.
Clouseau is clearly, I guess he is doing Hollywood mind here, where he's like, the audience wants to see this thing fall apart, so let's take it down. Let's demolish this thing.
I leaned over to Joe after the mine cart had gotten pushed off, and I said, what was it? What's Chekhov's mine cart?
Yeah, exactly.
Like the moment that thing shows up in the scene, you're like, that's going over the cliff. That is not staying on that platform.
But you also get this moment where, first of all, I do want to mention in this sequence, as someone for at least the first part of my life, until just the past couple of years, grew up around like giant trucks and having to like carefully guide people backing up giant vehicles into things. Here. Like I was like, oh jeez, he's telling you to stop, you're gonna hit something, you need to stop, he's telling you to stop. He's like, no, I gotta go all the way back.
He picks the worst spot to direct the truck.
He's like right behind him.
There's no way he can see you from back there.
Yeah, though it is also established kind of, and maybe it's just, I don't know, the environment they're in, but that when they're guiding this truck, they can hear each other.
Yeah,
and in that moment he can't hear him at all. I don't really know what's up with that.
I think it's more of a Mario is like, this fucking guy. No, I need to back all the way onto the platform.
Fair enough.
Yeah, he doesn't trust him, right? We've already lost the trust between these characters, so
and then he doesn't trust him even more because he like tries to run away, he tries to like clamber up this hill because he's convinced that the truck's gonna explode.
But then further into the next sequence, as we're wrapping up this one, or no, I guess the last sequence. Whatever, I'm skipping a little bit. It's not that he doesn't trust Joe when he's in the muck.
Yeah.
He has like animosity towards his
he's like, this
assistant
guy. Yeah.
You think
so?
And
then he's just like, I mean, kinda, because then he beats him up after his leg is run over.
Well,
like that sequence, his drive to get this done, and he is so done with Joe at that point. Yeah, his ambition is overtaken, and like his animosity towards his holding him back has grown so much that he doesn't even really believe that there's potential danger. He's like, no way. And then he's like, well, you know what? Too bad, frankly, and just runs him over. That's an interesting sequence.
Yeah, well, that one comes after The Rock because
yes, I skipped a little bit, but let's talk about The Rock.
Let's talk about.
Abram, I want to go to Abram. Did you have anything you wanted to mention about either the first two that we hit?
Not really. I mean,
Okay.
I think that I think there's a great degree of novelty to them, which I really like. But I think I like the second two more, not only because I think that they're more audacious in their situation, but also because I think they express a lot more about character.
Hmm.
Now, you guys are obviously talking about good character notes that unfold in particularly the second sequence on the extended platform. But I really find myself drawn to the ways that our personalities emerge in the heat of these improvised situations. So I'm much more interested in the next two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, The Rock is. It's probably a toss up for favorite sequence between the platform and The Rock for me. Which are actually I realized I just said the name of two different movies, but anyway, we haven't talked about what's his name. Hang on, I gotta talk.
Bimba?
Bimba. We
Bimba.
haven't mentioned Bimba
The
at this
German.
point. The German.
Yeah. That was
oh,
Timo's nickname in high school.
Bimba.
Oh, okay.
I love the little contraption he built. I fucking love that thing, man. I love that he's like a little engineer, and he's like, it's like a Rube Goldberg machine is effectively what he constructs here, and he's so very carefully.
One-step Rube Goldberg machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fuse goes off and the hammer drops. Rube Goldberg would be incredibly disappointed. There's no like.
No,
Rube
I'd like to see
Goldberg
Rube
would love it.
Goldberg
Small
pull that shit
person or
off.
animal
Yeah.
or like boot.
But he's like carefully pouring the nitroglycerin into the canteen and then that into the hole. I also love the moment when he tells Luigi that he's like, "Oh yeah, put a 30-inch hole in that boulder if you could, please, with this steel rod." I'm like,
But then-
you say that like it's no big deal.
Ain't no
It's
way
like-
he could do
and
that
then
in like the
Luigi
2
is like-
hours that he
Yeah.
does.
Luigi's
That's his moment. That's his specialty. That's what he does.
That's a
Yeah.
good point. That's a great point, actually. Yeah.
He picks up the way he moves, like Luigi's, the actor for Luigi, as he scampers up the rock, and it's, this very, very heavy. I mean, that pole must be 80 pounds. And
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I think to me this scene sort of illustrates what's so oppressive about their task. Because let's think about a '90s film that everybody loves, Speed. I fucking love Speed.
Speed's
at
great.
movies.
Love Speed.
What's great about a movie like Speed, or even Fury Road, to get even more modern with our touchstones, is that there's a time pressure. You're being chased. In Speed, that speedometer can't drop below 60 or whatever. In Fury Road, you can't slow down because the Morton Joe's guys are right on your ass.
Right.
Yeah.
What makes
What's this movie called again?
Wages of
Wages
Fear?
Sorry, Wages of Fear beget Speed beget Crank.
Yes. Yeah, sure.
what makes this so so harrowing is that the speed is not relevant. The time is not relevant.
No, it's not.
You can crawl along. You can stop. You can think. You can plan.
Have a great line where they say, I think it's Joe who says, "I don't give a fuck." I think he didn't say fuck, but I don't give a fuck about the oil. They're not going to pay me dividends for the company at the end of the year. Like we get there when we get there.
And that makes this whole scene so much more excruciating, I think, because we're trapped with this reality that that the threat looming is in the back of the truck, and we can move that at 2 miles an hour. We can move that at 60 miles an hour, but it's always strapped to our back.
Right.
The bomb is strapped to our back, as they say at one point.
Yeah.
And so to bring everybody to a halt here together, and to have to figure out this issue of the rock, I think really demonstrates the precarity of the situation they're in. Not only as we're carefully pouring the nitroglycerin down the length of the stick to make sure there's no splash, but just the fact that we are sitting with those trucks loaded with nitroglycerin behind us as we're solving the rock problem.
Yeah,
There is no margin for error anywhere across this 300-mile stretch of land, and I think that makes for maybe not always the most exciting film. If I'm trying to capture like what's the mood? Do I feel electrified by this movie? I don't think so, but I feel sort of I feel a sense of dread as I'm trapped in these scenes. I think The Rock illustrates all of that for me.
I would like to talk about this character of Bimba because I think he expresses something I've come to realize is one of the key themes of this movie, which is the war. It's basically never talked about by anyone else except he's the one who really does talk about it, but they certainly all lived through it. It was not that long ago, and it's almost certainly the reason they're all there at the end of the day.
in South
Somewhat.
America.
Entrapped in this situation. And then we have this scenario that plays out where they have to deal with, like you said, like this. There's no margin for error in any of it. You can die at any time, and you wouldn't even know. And I think that is sort of, to me, the central point of this is how these men are dealing with handling their fear. And Bimba has these lines where he's like, if I die, I want to be presentable. And obviously Joe deals with it the worst, but they're all, you can look at Mario when Joe is talking like he is and see that he's afraid. And Bimba is the only one to really acknowledge and he seems like he really got the worst of it in the war.
Mhm.
And he's the one who keeps his cool, and in that moment really shines and is like, okay, he's the one who really deals with like a very difficult problem, which is this rock, which certainly none of the rest of them would have been able to do what he did.
Yeah, and the line is, what was the line like specifically?
Oh, like
he's like, if you had been in the concentration camp, right?
It says like you can age 100 years in a few months if you're in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah, and he mentioned something to the effect of that the danger he was in there and the fear he felt in the current moment was rather nothing compared to the concentration camp.
Yeah, that's what's so interesting about his character is that he doesn't have the same kind of like, I don't think, sense of adrenaline chasing or ambition or adventure necessarily that Mario and Luigi have, but he has this like, yeah.
Which is, that's an urban legend about this movie that I do not think is true. By the way,
no, there's
this is the origin of Mario and Luigi.
No. They are roommates, but
yeah, it's true.
But for Bimba, it is almost rote. He almost is like, all right, this is what you gotta do. Like he is not as freaked out by it because he has lived through something that is even more dangerous. Like his nerves are fried. He's totally jaded by danger and fear. And it presents in him in this confidence that we never see end, because the last thing that we see him do, right, is like give himself a shave, and then he's a cartoonish hole in the ground.
Well, no, who is it? His cigarette holder or is it Luigi's cigarette holder?
Yeah, it's his.
It is.
That's the only thing. Well, I mean, that's intentional, also clearly.
Yeah.
So this final sequence, then, we see the explosion from afar.
Well, actually, hold on. I want to interrupt for a second because
ahead.
I think that the death is interesting to me.
Oh yeah, we gotta talk about the explosion.
Yeah, we do.
Because not only do I think that that's a great little bit of cause and effect of them then having to literally traverse through and over where the truck was, but I think
because that's been true for the other sequences, right? You have to deal with how far away the other person is working together, and the third one, warning them, not only in the second one, but in the first one when they put down the handkerchief and then the guy takes it.
It's like, hey, how you doing?
But this is a more specific cause and effect. Like they have totally different experiences with this section.
They do. That's undeniable.
I think it's one of my favorite deaths in any movie I've ever seen. It's so brutal. And then the work he does right beforehand with Mario and Luigi making up, and then them having that really nice conversation in the truck, Bimbo and Luigi, whatever their names are.
They really have a brothership.
They really make you like these characters, and then they just brutally murder them off screen in this way that is really disorienting, really shocking, and the largest movie explosion I have ever seen. I don't know how the hell they did that, but it is really that is a genuinely dangerous explosion they made.
Really far away from other people, probably.
If we're talking like how this movie sort of influenced modern films, the execution of that scene feels very similar to the Trinity test in Oppenheimer, where you have the silent flash and then the delayed explosion sound. Obviously, Nolan drags that out for what was it, about 15 minutes of silence in the theater,
15
I think?
minutes.
20 minutes. But this is seems like foundational for that sequence as well, and it's executed just perfectly. I mean, the flash that you just, because you're not expecting it. It's a guy rolling a cigarette, and then it's just a blinding white light, and he's like, "What was that?" And then it
Well,
happens.
but the tobacco blows away.
Oh,
It's
that's
the first
right.
thing
Yeah,
we
yeah, yeah,
see.
yeah.
because
It's
because
such
the
a great-
whole movie they've had the windshield up on that truck.
Mhm.
Great attention to detail. Like
Yeah.
they just don't do it like that nowadays. Abram.
Well, this goes back again to this is my first viewing, right? Because I'm waiting for the moment in one of these massive set pieces where somebody dies.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that bump in the road as they're driving and to see that split second before they die and see it on their face.
Mhm.
But I don't get to see that. You get to see it on the
That's
other
so sad.
guys. And I think that that's really a strong creative choice. And I'm interested again if we to think about Joe, your point about Bimba. The last we see of him right before his death, almost as though he knows it's coming, is him shaving and sharing that memory about his father asking for the shower before he's hanged.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this idea that Bimba, after all he's survived, and this last sort of proud, sad, familial tradition, before everything that he was, all of the knowledge he has, all of the lineage he comes from, is simply
Evaporated.
out of existence.
It's gone.
I think it's really a beautiful and sad moment where it both makes concrete but also in a way interestingly abstracts the human cost of what's happening here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then
Yeah, because Tanner.
there's the oil.
Oil.
There's the oil.
Okay, wait. I do
Let's-
have a question.
Okay.
Oh, sure.
What do you think happened?
Yeah, how do you think they
Oh.
exploded?
Good point.
There's not really any evidence.
I have a theory that,
Yeah.
but I want to hear what everyone thinks.
I think it has to do with the fact that there's a giant pipe that's pumping oil, right? And I think that being there is no coincidence, and the fact that they are driving that, some leak from the oil thing, leaked onto the road, and they slipped, and it jostled it enough to explode. Or I don't think either of them are they smoking at that point? Is Luigi smoking?
Well, you see the cigarette holder thing, but also I assume the ruptured oil line was from the giant crater next to it that was created. Like the explosion, I think the explosion is what's caused the oil leak that our characters have to work through.
Here's my theory. I think that it's Clouseau saying that's bound to happen.
Sure.
You just can't go through the movie having all these characters be like, it could happen at any moment. I think like it literally is a small bump in a road. Like it is a minor thing. It is maybe the cumulative effects of the drive, but it's inevitable in the movie that this explosion happens. But I think that if we were to see it, it would be some sort of very small minor detail, a big rock in the road or a pothole or I don't think like a distracted driving moment is the cause. I think it's like a chance. I think it's chance.
Yeah.
I also I take it thematically as well because I don't really think it matters how it happened because the film is trying to it's not making a critique of the individual. It does, but it's more interested on a thematic level in this larger societal critique. In this skewering of the system within which these men are participating. And so I think the idea that your skill has nothing really to do with it, or your skill is still being sort of impressed upon by these larger forces out of your control is an effective and essential part of what the film is trying to tell us about participating in this system that has no real interest or regard about you. The death is interesting, not just in how it happens, but because even to the other guys, it's a material concern because it's how created a literal hole in the ground. And now you have to get through the hole. There's even the exchange, right, when they die between Joe and Mario, where Mario mentions, this is what happens when you take a chance and you lose. And that mindset that Joe tries to rebuke and says, your fucking friend just blew up. He's gone now. That's what the film is interested in attacking. And so I think that the cause of death not being clear, it not being a plot moment, is instructional for how the film is trying to indicate that these people are being treated by the world in which they live.
Sure. Joe, what's your theory?
Yeah.
Well, I think. Look, ultimately you're absolutely right. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. The point is that they will literally never know. But I think he tells you in that the first shot of that scene where Bibba is shaving, you see this enormous vine dragging across the windshield of the car, and I think it's supposed to sort of mean that they pulled a tree down on them or something. But ultimately it doesn't. Because that's a lot of trouble to go through to show that vine going across that and that, and they're in this jungled area. But ultimately, it truly doesn't matter, and you, as they say in the movie, they'll never know what happened to them.
Yeah,
and everything about it is gone.
I like Timo's sort of like thing of them planting that. Yeah, it's inevitable because for as much as I see, at the beginning of our discussion here, that the film is about the hierarchy of labor and exploitation and things like that. I think if you extrapolate it even further out, telescope even further out, and sort of try and boil this film down to one of the essential forms of story, it's a man versus nature kind of story. It is the hubris of man thinking that they could do this and get away with it kind of thing, which is even the actual ending of the movie. I can talk about that while we're wrapping up, because we gotta talk about the oil. We gotta talk about the oil, gentlemen.
I want to have a special note here to get this little bit started about the fluids, the prop fluids of this movie.
So good.
Joe and I, working on set and having to deal with fake blood, and fake blood gets on my lavs and my microphone. Sometimes it's a pain in the ass. So what liquid did they use to shoot this sequence in the oil? Was it oil? Was it molasses?
I think it can only be oil. I don't know anything else that behaves like that.
When they come about and it just sort of seeps off of their shoulders and stuff like that, it's perfect, man.
And it turns the Mario's white tank top completely black.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Well, then, and it also makes me think, what was the liquid that they used for nitro or in the rock sequence? It has a different look than water. The way it flows is very different. Clearly, it wasn't nitro. They wouldn't actually do that. But a special shout out to the prop liquid makers on this one, because it's just really good. It's wow, I don't know how you did that.
Maybe, I don't know.
Who knows?
So we don't know the answer because I looked it up and the Google AI thing says that it's real oil, which makes me think it wasn't. Because this shit's never fucking accurate.
They could have used some sort of just some sort of crude waste oil of some kind, I suppose.
Well, you can't put that in your mouth. Did everybody in that scene die 2 months after the movie came out? That's in their mouth.
It's a Wonderful Life is full of asbestos, so
but
it's the same years as Genghis Khan, so
asbestos is a silent killer, I think. I don't know. I've not eaten it recently.
No, that's my
but
farts.
if you get oil right in your mouth,
that's
isn't
loud.
that
That's
really
very loud.
It's a loud killer. So the sequence where they have to overcome this hole, it's just talk about taking your characters out of the frying pan and putting them into the fire here. Not only are we as an audience grieving the loss of the truck, but then the oh shit, what do we do? But what do you guys make of this kind of culmination of Joe and Mario's relationship here in this truck running over with the tree branch scene, and how it's you were talking about Mario's cruelty comes out, but this is a scene where I kind of don't feel the motivations aligning exactly with what's going on screen. It does feel a little kludgy that they didn't stop, or that Mario is so insistent on running over. I get the ambition argument, but it doesn't take me far enough to explain why he just didn't not. Why he just Well, yeah, go ahead.
Does it seem thematically significant that these guys are literally drowning in a pool of oil and one man?
I don't think there's anything. I think you're reaching, Abram. I think you're reaching. Yeah,
that's a step too far.
I do. He does. I think for me, this sequence is maybe the most stilted, in a way. I think it's sort of, they don't quite make the stakes as clear with why he can't stop. I mean, I get it; it's going to spin out, but it's sort of when you're first. They really say that over and over again in this scene, that you can't stop; you're going to get stuck. But it still feels like he does it out of spite, which it doesn't seem like he really does. And if you're talking about strictly what's in the film, but you really are God damn, this guy sucks when you're watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's why I framed it as animosity or aggression earlier.
To me, it feels like something he tries to atone for and can't afterwards.
Mhm.
And so to me, I almost take in it the idea that if he stopped, he can't get it at face value, and this idea that the desperation at this point, as we inch ever closer to the oil field, that simply getting the truck there for a moment in Mario's mind is what's most important.
Mm.
Because I think that the moment that makes this scene really work for me is after he finally wrenches the truck out of the oil. He gets out of the truck, and he's overcome by emotion, and he almost collapses beside the truck.
Mhm.
And Joe observes this, and it's such a moment of release after we see Mario reach this point of aggression that we haven't even seen before. He's obviously physically and verbally abusive earlier in the film, but he is ostensibly torturing Joe, whose leg is beyond repair.
Yeah.
In two
And
pieces.
that's an escalation. And then to see him reach his point of escalation and then break, to me, this is the break that works best for me, actually, is to see him past the point of no return in this, again, very thematically obvious moment
Yeah.
when we are literally mired in the very substance for which...
They are being like baptized in it. They are dunking themselves in and everything. Yeah.
And I think that the moral clarity that he finds afterwards, and I think the almost delicate nature with which he splints Joe's leg, and then obviously the intimate nature with which he holds him as he's dying, to me it suggests that this is the emotional climax, and almost a moment of realization for Mario. And what makes the ending potent for me is that he doesn't actually realize anything from this.
No.
Yeah. What did we learn?
Think perhaps
don't know,
more so
sir.
that like the break and the return to, oh shit, I just did something really fucked up. Is a reassertion of Mario's humanity. Like, he is not a monster that is beyond the pale anymore.
Yeah.
Like, he can still regret, which I think is essential for the basically the 1-2 punch of perfect endings that this movie has. That you need to like return to, like, no, he is not like a money monster by the end of it who is willing to leave his friend dying on the side of the road by the end of this. Like, he has regret. He remembers the connection they had, and he even tries to sort of reclaim it and comfort Joe in his final moments or whatever, or assert that they have made it through the worst of it. You know, they're approaching the oil field. They're almost there at the finish line. And then Joe has his sort of like final monologue, which sort of culminates in him. It's like him fading in and out of consciousness and sort of reminiscing on his memories and living in them almost in this death state. And his final line, unless I'm misremembering, is "There's nothing,"
Yeah.
and then he dies, which to me is almost like there's no afterlife, no nothing. Like, we are in hell
by the Americans.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
Like,
surely.
which kind of feels to be in line with the whole like hellish biblical sort of story that we've been telling this whole time about these guys
This
like
landscape.
living at the end of the world and doing this impossible task to like a literal mouth of fire and hell and like brimstone,
Fire and
at the end of
brimstone,
it.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Is that this is almost like a Dante's Inferno kind of situation we found ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, to that point, I wanted to sort of... There's this idea that Mario and Joe are like the two sides of one person. Like, if you ever done anything really difficult, there's always a voice in your head that's going to basically constantly being like, this is crazy, this is a bad idea, what are you doing? And you sort of have to learn how to silence that. And for me, I saw that in me of like, sometimes you just gotta tell yourself, like, you know what, shut the hell up. Like, don't make me come back there. Because what you're doing, like, the constant voice is not helpful. It's just, but it's also not something you can really turn off. And I love this dynamic between them that's like, Mario is really affected by Joe being scared. Before all the oil scene happens, is by Joe vocally being very scared, and you can see it on his face that he doesn't really want to hear it, and that it is getting to him.
Yeah.
And then when it sort of becomes a flat-out refusal, then that turns to cruelty. That's like, to me, that's almost like what do you have to do to yourself to accomplish something impossible?
Mhm.
And you're sort of killing a part of yourself that maybe you shouldn't, and maybe you're losing something really permanently
That
and you may not even, but you don't realize it. Maybe you don't realize it.
Mhm.
Well, we talked about after we watched it that when Mario gets the money and he then takes this when he dances with the truck, this extreme risk. If we continue your reading and he has killed the part of him that is cautious and is scared, then we see immediately the consequence of not having that around anymore.
He is pure, unadulterated hubris in that moment, which is sort of like going back to my man versus nature thing. Is like, yeah, it's going to happen at some point. Like you can't continue to just by coincidence survive these situations. And he like tempts fate in that moment. He's like swerving back and forth, doing the thing that he couldn't in the truck for 16 hours or whatever. Oh, finally, I get to do this thing that I've always wanted to do, swerve back and forth in this truck, whatever. No, he's like
the old
flaunting in the face.
Joe is gone.
Yeah, he's
if Joe was there, he would have told him just to cut
of
that
death.
shit out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so interesting that like the tonal shift that it takes from when he arrives at the oil field at night, covered in oil, soot, probably blood, sweat, everything
lit
like
by
that.
the column of fire.
Lit by the column of fire, and then and he's just like he's in a daze. He climbs out of the truck. He's like, they're dead. The other guys are dead. That guy's dead too. And first of all, I think a smaller moment of his hubris or whatever is him like lighting up the cigarette as he's covered in oil. I'm like, what the fuck? What the hell? Why the hell would you do that?
That's so crazy.
But I love that ending of him. He's almost
I clocked all the cigarette smoking earlier, like that there's like literal warning signs on the trucks, like don't smoke right next to them.
Within 50 feet.
They're smoking while driving. But I didn't clock this part at the end where he's covered in oil and he's like,
he's like, give me that open flame, by the way. Give me that match. Let me light that thing up right next to me, by the way.
Yeah.
But he is like beckoned by the towering inferno in front of him, and he like if he didn't collapse, he'd probably walk right into that thing at the for the ending of the movie. But no, what in fact he does is we do a fade in on writing a check for $4,000. Here you go, buddy. Hightail it out of here.
Put this in your pipe and smoke it. The company agreed to pay 4 men $2,000 each. At the end of it, there's one man that they paid $4,000. The company saved $4,000 by having those 2 dudes die, which was always part. It was always part of their plan. They said it at the beginning that the reason that they would send 2 trucks is because one was guaranteed to not make it, and that the other one would, and then they would have their problem solved. So even at the end of the film. Yeah, I mean, you can't take the money from the hand and live to tell the tale, is what Rizzo is saying.
Right.
I've always thought it sort of comes out of nowhere for me.
It's because
it's sort of unclear what happens to him.
The way that, like, we've talked about it here, and I think the thematic sense of it has come a lot clearer into focus for me. But the tonal shift is so extreme in the film that, like, we go to. I forget what the name of that classical piece is, but you've heard it a million times. And it's Blue Danube?
Blue Danube.
Yeah. I was like, it's from 2001. I really need to know it. That and this like intercutting between back in the saloon and then on the road, like it is different from the rest of the movie. And so that to psychoanalyze myself is probably where I'm like, oh, this is a little strange and kind of out of left field here at the end.
It is, but there's also like sequences about like music and the stuff at the bar and stuff earlier. So it's him kind of returning to that carefree state. Like, because he is
it's not
given
really
his situation,
carefree, though. It's jubilant. I would say.
Given his situation, before they go on the Wages of Fear run, he's pretty chill about the fact that he's trapped here and doesn't have a job and everything. Like,
or at least he appears so. Yeah.
But we don't ever see him dance or really celebrate in any way.
Yeah. Well, we see Linda.
True. She dances. She dances with Luigi. Yes.
Yeah. I was gonna say Luigi dances as well.
But
I also just think it's an interesting detail that Joe doesn't want music on. He hates music. He wants that jukebox turned off.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
he's the one that rips the cord out of the wall.
Good point.
And then
And he wants the radio off too in the truck.
yeah. Now that guy's dead, so we're putting the damn radio
We're
on.
putting the damn radio on. We're swerving back and forth. I'm on the up and up, baby. Nothing can stop me now.
I do agree with Joe a little bit. Even I think just in terms of how it's executed, it's like you couldn't have just kept it on the road a little bit.
Between the
man. I mean,
lines.
you're going around it. You're doing a fucking hairpin turn here. You don't need to swerve that part. You say the fishtailing for the main stretches of road, the main drag.
Yeah. My thing is, I've already said my piece on it. Is that like it's a hubris? It's a tale of man's hubris. At the end of the day, is that obviously this guy needs to get his comeuppance for flaunting in the face of death after everything that he's just gone through. Like that's how the story goes, and it's a little bit of Clouseau like doing a little bit of a middle finger to the audience, but it's him being like, this is the logical endpoint of like this ultimate story that we are telling. That wrapping everything that we've talked about up in it, the points of labor and oil industry and exploitation of man and labor and nature and everything like that. Like if we mix that all up into the gumbo, I mean, what is the ultimate lesson? We have this guy who is benefiting from everything that just happened monetarily, and he's about to get everything he ever wanted, but nay, we have to cut him short. We have to strike him down at his highest, because that is where man is ultimately.
That's sort of my problem with it. I think this ending's kind of silly. That it feels like something that has to happen rather than everything else in the film, which feels completely organic and like the challenges arise completely out of the situation. And then this happens, and it's just sort of happens because, he's got to die at the end. But I think I sort of see it as a commentary on the Hollywood ending, where like in the last 30 seconds, the rich guy comes in and everyone gets a check and everything's fine, except this is the opposite.
He saved the school or whatever,
Yeah.
And it's like, and everyone lived happily ever after, but this one's like, and then he died.
Clock tower.
Yeah. Exactly.
But given that, don't we just love that truck goes plummeting off the cliff and we see it in multiple angles? He's got 4 cameras rolling, and then it lands, and the engine block, kaboom, and it's still sort of spinning. It's so great. It's so great.
They basically atomize that truck, is effectively what happens.
Have you guys ever seen the YouTube videos of the car event it's in way the hell up in Alaska?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They brick the accelerator on these cars. It's like a 500-foot cliff, and they just drive a bunch of cars off the edge of the cliff every summer. Beaters and junkers and stuff. It's this. I watched these 2 moments, and the scene in the film and the YouTube video compilation of this motorsport event. It's the same itch. They fill the same need inside of me. I love watching a truck plummet 100 feet.
I think that Alaska thing is either their 4th of July or New Year's celebration, because it's 24 hours of daylight, so they can't do fireworks.
It would be in the summer. It would be in the summer, yeah. Oh yeah, that's right, because they're so far north. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's day all the time, so they can't do fireworks.
Here's what I'll contribute to the discourse as we pull up the sheet here to plug some scores in.
Yeah.
And where I'm from, there's this thing called Pumpkin Fest every October, where people grow, incalculably large pumpkins. I'm talking like, you're talking like 20 foot across pumpkins. And there's this event that they do. It's called the Pumpkin Drop every year.
Right.
They get an old car, and they lift a big pumpkin 18 feet in diameter up above the car, and everybody in the town gathers around, and they just drop the pumpkin on the car.
Hey, there's some
That's the whole event.
There's a base human need to see a car get fucked up at the end of the day.
You go, you get some donuts, and then you stand in the field and you watch them drop the pumpkin on the car.
Dude, that sounds awesome.
Amazing.
That sounds like it rules.
Oh, what the heck? Well, Tanner, while I think about what the heck I'm going to give this movie score-wise, will you give us a little poem details? Who was on the jury this year?
Poem details. So in 1953, your jury president was a little guy named Jean Cocteau, if you've ever heard of him. He was the jury president for this year. Let's see here. The other jury members. Actor Edward G. Robinson is on the jury this year.
We love him.
Yeah.
Was he on any of the Wilder? No, yeah, Double Indemnity.
Yeah, he's in Double Indemnity.
Indeed, won Best Picture. So friend of the show.
And let's see here. Other notable films of the 34 other films in competition. There was Kaneto Shindo's Children of Hiroshima. There was I Confess from Alfred Hitchcock. Tucker, this is one for you. Monsieur Hulot's Holiday was in competition
fun,
this
yeah.
year, as was Disney's Peter Pan.
I like this one better.
Slow year.
Yeah, they picked
I like
a
when
rather
the-
electric one.
I like when the alligator eats the clock. There's nothing like that. in
That's
Legends
true.
of Fear.
That is a moment of pearl clutching tension in itself, isn't it? All right,
All
shall
right,
we,
you guys
gentlemen?
ready? You want to hear the score? Okay, 3, 2, 1, boom.
We also need to ask.
Oh yeah, for
Joe
the record.
what he.
Well, yeah.
Joe, what
so
would
For
you
the
give
record, what
movie?
would you?
I don't know what your guys' scoring system is, how you do it, but I will just go off my letterbox and give this one a solid 9.
Solid
Nice.
9.0 is what
That
you'll
works.
put down. You, Joe, are right where we thought the movie should go. The average is a 9.
Whoa.
A 9.1. Is that the? Oh my God! Not again.
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus!
Yeah,
Oh no!
Oh, no.
Jesus Christ! The 9-way tie.
Oh.
Now here's an interesting thought.
Yeah,
Because we have
I guess
Someone
Another
here.
score. We could.
we could do some time.
we could add the
Oh.
9 to it and see how that.
Well,
I guess
it wouldn't really change
I don't think it
anything.
would change
No,
it much.
It would probably not do anything actually. But we
point
can't. We,
breakdown
depending
is,
on how many of the films Joe has seen, he could maybe be tiebreaker.
We could let that happen. Abram and I gave it an 8.7. Tucker gave it an 8.8. Tanner gave it a flat 10.0.
I gave it a 10.
So,
I gave it a
guys,
10.
what-
I was hovering in the 9 range for at the beginning of the discussion, but as we talked about it for an hour and a half, I was like, this is a masterpiece. What am I fucking
You
about?
gotta rip a 10.
Yeah.
You gotta rip a 10
rip a
every
10
once
on
in a
the.
Uh-huh.
As Tanner's
guys, guys, look, the explosion's about to happen. Oh wait.
Whoa,
there
it is. Okay, so
Oh,
we got
so this is a tough one. Well, let's start at the bottom. Spot number 10 to begin with. At the bottom of the 9.1 ties, but the one that it's up against first is The Pianist, Polanski's film.
That's a good one.
Yeah, where do we come? Oh boy, where do I think? I don't even
I'd
know
go.
what
I'd go Wages of Fear above.
Okay.
I'd go pianist.
Pianist, Tucker.
Pianist.
Pianist. I think I almost would go Pianist too.
Oh, okay.
Wages for me, and not that it matters.
But yeah, well, so then that would make it
It's
a
close.
You don't
3 to
3-1.
keep it where it is, and 1 to move it. So then, all that hemming and hawing, we solved it
Hey,
immediately.
how about that?
Wages of Fear, spot number 10. Welcome to the top 10, Cluzo.
Hopefully it'll stick
Quite
around
a-
for a while. Or I guess hopefully
hopefully.
not, because I want to watch more good movies. But anyway.
Yeah, well, somebody's going to have to get something other than a 9.1, a 9.2 in order to not have a tie, because this is like
Uh-huh.
most of the top 10 is those scores.
9.4 is free for second place.
Okay.
Yep,
all right.
9.4 is free for all you, I don't know, politicking, quest politickers.
Poly market.
Yeah.
Polymarket odds for us changing our number 1. That'd be hard.
That'd be
That would be really hard.
9.9
Yeah, it's
average
a
per
9 point.
person.
I don't think it's going anywhere, unfortunately. Not a lot of
If we-
suspense to go around.
Yeah, yeah.
But we do have some
well,
ragers left on the list, so let's see if we get one of them bad boys.
let's see here. Spin wheel. Ready? When you're ready, Tanner, sing us a tune.
Wheel, what's your deal? Give us a movie that makes us squeal. Is it on digital or is it on real? Wheel, what's your deal?
Out
Oh,
of
this is
50
French.
movies,
Not funny. Not funny.
number 3.
Oh, we're going way
Number
back.
3.
Hopping in our
19
Wayback Machine, which you might need
1946. 1946.
to find
Is it?
this. It is a 1946 film, of course.
1946.
The film itself on Letterboxd says came out in 1944, but they had to postpone the Cannes Film Festival because of a little thing called World War II going on at that time, if I'm remembering correctly. But anyway, this is I'm fairly certain, a Mexican film starring, let's see here, Pedro Armendariz and Dolores Del Rio. This is from director Emilio Fernandez from the 1946 contest. This is Maria Candelaria.
Oh, you guys are in for a treat. I've
Never.
seen that one.
You've seen this one?
Never heard of it.
Really?
Okay, all right, all right.
What should we know and what shouldn't we know then?
Well,
Shouldn't we know?
I mean, I don't think there's anything you need to know about it. It's a Mexican film from the 40s. Emilio Fernandez was a great director. He had a lot of good, and this is there's like a
I like this picture on IMDb.
This is like the
Yeah.
golden age of Mexican cinema, they call it. He
Mhm.
was one of the foremost directors of that movement. and a very inventive one.
Very
I've seen
cool.
a couple of his movies. I
Cool.
can't remember which one this is, but they've all made an impression on me for sure.
Sure.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, we are going to talk about Maria Candelaria next time here on the
This will
Quest
be
for
our
the
first
Bestest.
Mexican film, right?
I think
I
that's right. I mean, we've had a film from Mexican directors of when we did Birdman, so
and we did a
Yeah.
Buñuel film too, right?
No,
Olvidados?
not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
no, but no,
Do we have-
yet.
Do we have one on the list?
There is. Hang on, I gotta remind myself which one it is. But there is one, isn't there? Or am I crazy?
I don't know. Could go either way based off what you said today.
Mm-hmm. Anyway,
Regardless, we're going to be in for a treat, I guess, or not. We shall see. We get to make up our own decision every time.
Maybe he's
Uh,
lying to us.
Maybe it's all deceit.
On his head.
You, dear
Viridiana,
viewer-
found it. I found it. Viridiana is the
Oh,
Louis
Viridiana,
Vuitton.
yeah.
Ah, okay,
I don't
okay.
think that's set in Mexico though. I'm not sure.
Maybe it's Spain. He also worked there a bunch.
Okay.
Regardless, we will be back next time to discuss this film. If you have thoughts on The Wages of Fear, if you think The Wages of Fear is better than Friedkin's Sorcerer, or if you think it's worse, we want to hear why. Minimum 100 words, please. And then,
Also, put it up against a 2024 Netflix movie, please.
yeah,
Just let us know if you've seen it. That's all actually I care about.
Sure.
Have
Yeah,
you seen
have
it?
you-
Do you know it exists? I didn't until today.
Mhm.
you know, not a lot more from me. Stick around for other movie content. Our
Wait, I have something.
What?
oh, yeah, you do?
Gosh.
Joe,
course.
thank you for joining us. As
Of course.
Thank you for
Oh,
having
yes.
me.
Hey, thanks,
This was
Joe.
fun.
Yes.
I don't want the power to
thank
go to
you.
his head, so I won't say it.
Well, we will see. A good audition. We might have him back. He's laid a claim on some other movies on the list that he wants to talk about. So when we get to them, which who knows when that'll be, but yeah, you can expect to see him around again. Well, that's all from us. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Joe, and catch you next time. Stay cool, keep warm. Peace.